Good morning, beautiful California day. I'm very happy to welcome Kiki T. Uh, and she's a singer, and she has. I've checked your Spotify. You have many beautiful songs, and let's talk about everything. How are you, Kiki? Good
I'm
morning.
great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about some of the music, and I've watched some of your other podcasts. They're great.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to welcome you today. First, I like to know like your background a little bit. I know you were born in Hawaii, and tell me a little bit about early background, childhood, and teen until you decided to become a performer.
Wow. Okay. Well, I grew up in Hawaii. It was an amazing experience. It's funny how even now in my music, I was talking with the producer the other day. Like I'm always hearing island influences in my music and in other people's music, and I think that just growing up in that environment is so musical and it's just immersed in the culture. But growing up, I really I didn't do anything musical. I never learned to play an instrument. I opted out of choir, any opportunity to sing publicly, but I did write an absolute mountain of poetry. I would say that that's the foundation of all of my writing and storytelling really comes from being a really shy kid and just kind of an introvert overall as a
Hmm.
young person. And I just poured all of that passion and intensity into writing. And it wasn't until much later in life when I started applying that towards music and songwriting that I went home and just discovered this just boxes and boxes and boxes of composition books and poetry. So I would say that's kind of my musical origin story. It's a little unconventional, but I have always been writing just in kind of a different format.
Yes. And when did you started to look for a professional career, and how was the move from Hawaii to Los Angeles, California?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, a lot of people from Hawaii talk about just an absolute culture shock moving from the islands to anywhere, but California was at least coastal, so that was a nice transition. But when I moved from Hawaii, I worked as a photographer for
Really?
yeah for a number of years, and I did a lot of weddings and events, but everything I shot was very photojournalistic. And it's funny how now in retrospect, I just see how I have this concept that like creativity is just a really fluid thing and it can pour into a lot of different forms and mediums. And I loved capturing and telling these stories visually. And so that's kind of how I ended up in California. My sister was dancing as a professional ballet dancer in Santa Barbara. I visited her. I loved it. They had a huge destination wedding. Boom going on at that point. So I moved out. I
Yes.
started shooting photography in Santa Barbara, California. And I did that for a number of years. And then I ended up going back to school and studying psychology and going to grad school for cognitive neuroscience before I
Mhm,
dropped out. I'm not Dr. T.
mhm.
But yeah, so I've had kind of an interesting little path towards music. But yes, photography is what led
Yes.
me
Mm.
out of Hawaii and into California, essentially.
Yes, but a lot of background and in different artistic and scientific practice,
Yeah.
right? Do you think this like shaped a little bit the lyrics and the music you perform right now?
Absolutely. And I talked to I mean, I've discovered music in my 30s quite a bit later in my life than most
Mhm.
artists, especially most female artists.
Yeah.
And I think that a question or, a assumption I get a lot is people wondering, "Oh, do you wish you'd kind of discovered this vocation earlier in your life? Would it be easier?" But I know absolutely that the strongest thing I bring to my writing is just a lot of perspective and life experience. And I've really been an explorer in my life, not to be cheesy. And being able to bring so many different elements into my writing is, I think, kind of one of my superpowers as an artist. And some of them are my stories, but some of them are other stories as well. But just having lived like a very full and creative exploratory life really lends
Yes.
a lot to the writing process.
Yes. I've seen before your current song, you have a bunch of songs, maybe 10 songs on Spotify, maybe.
Yeah, I was
So,
doing a project. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I want to know, about, your debut. How did you start to, conceptualize it and until it's on Spotify, your first song?
Yeah. Oh, this is a great story. So I started writing music um, where consistently about 5.5, 5 or 6 years ago, and I spent the first 2 years of that, or year and a half, exclusively writing rap. The idea of ever writing a song or anything, traditionally pop or melodic was just completely outside of the scope for me. So I wrote an absolute ton of rap, and then I kind of started shifting into being a little bit more melodic in the music space. I don't know if that's the right word even, but the first song that I wrote was actually about Bali. It was about going back to an island, and I had an amazing friend who's also still a great friend and a producer I work with, called Rob Heskin. And it was terrifying because at the time I was doing all of my recording into basically like into AirPods, into my phone and GarageBand, and not letting anyone hear it, maybe like two or three people for years. And I sent him just a little track that I'd done, to that song. And he said, just come over and we'll record it. And he was so kind, and he just made the whole experience so fun. I still have a video from that time, and that was the first song that I ever professionally recorded. And then we went on to release kind of like a first round album. I did it as a personal project and released that. And that was kind of at the beginning. I would say that's like the origin story of really me writing for pop,
Yes.
but it's evolved a lot since then, especially with what we have coming out this summer, which I think is kind of
Yes.
like my official debut. Everything I've released to this point, I would say, is a combination of kind of my musical education and some things that are, I don't know, sentimental as well.
Yes. But I want to know about Kiki T. This is your artistic name. Is there a story behind it?
Oh, yeah, actually. So my birth name is Kelly, and my brother is 7 years younger than I am. And when he was little, we had a cat named Kiki, and he started calling me Kiki, and it stuck. And now, it's funny. It's kind of evolved. And when I moved out, like I discussed, when I first wanted to be an adult and be on my own, I kind of claimed this Kelly name, but it always just felt a little bit formal. And now everyone in my life calls me Kiki, and they're surprised when they hear my legal name. But now if someone calls me Kelly, I'm sure I feel like I've been pulled over for speeding, or I'm at like a medical appointment. I get a little nervous about it. But yeah, so that's the origin. My brother is actually a very talented musician, so it's kind of funny.
Wonderful. Do you
Yeah.
collaborate with him?
Excuse me?
You collaborate with him?
No, we don't collaborate. We've only ever written one song together, and it's so funny
Really?
because yeah, before I ever started writing. I wanted to do like a Christmas present for my dad, and this was when I was only writing poetry, and he must have been 11 and I must have been 17, like a senior in high school, something like that. And we wrote this little song for my dad, and yeah, that's it. That's the only thing we've done so far. But we've talked about doing some music outreach this summer. He runs a kids music and summer camp, so I'm going to go out
Mm.
and maybe do a songwriting section for the kids on that. So hopefully we'll get to actually collaborate.
Actually, I have a cat called Kiki Miko, not
You
only
have a
Kiki.
cat named Kiki also?
Kiki Miko.
Kiki Nico. Oh, it's cute.
Yes. Okay. And she's the mother of five cats as well. We have six and six dogs and six cats.
That's incredible. That's a lot of animals.
Yes, and she likes me a lot. Although my wife take care of their food and cleaning and everything, she's after me all the time, Kiki Miko. I have this thing for cats since I was young.
Wow. That's incredible.
But I want to ask you, and before we talk about specific songs about yeah, because Los Angeles is very competitive, not
Yeah.
only music but in entertainment and filmmaking, and also the music scene is competitive. Everything right now is online and on Instagram, on your website as well. You have very beautiful website. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
uh, so tell me about these challenges and how do you try to overcome them, and so your voice can reach the new listeners or new fans all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny that you mentioned LA being competitive because I feel like LA is a total choose your own adventure. If anyone I meet at a conference, etc., is interested in music, I just tell them immediately to move to LA because there's
Yes.
so much opportunity and people are really actually much more collaborative and supportive than you would think.
Mhm.
And I work with a lot of other artists and working on writing for other artist projects, and I notice consistently that people are always in the artist community 99% of the time lifting each other up. So being in a very art centric environment is fantastic and really cool. So I love that. In terms of really getting your voice heard and finding your way through that, obviously it's a process I'm still discovering. But one thing that's recently really become abundantly clear to me is that fear is the absolute enemy of your creative process. And
Mhm.
you really have to create the art that you can't live without. Like the art that changes you, that inspires you, that you want to go back to and listen to when you need it, that is always going to find a home with other people. Uh,
Yeah.
the logistics of playlisting and gigging and all these things are things that I'm still rather green at, but I do feel like I've spent a good amount of time finding my own authentic sound and the things I want to write, mainly coming from a place where when I started, it was such an unimaginable concept that there would ever be an audience for it. I think I'd spent a lot less time thinking about that as an outcome and more about what I really wanted to make. And um, yeah, I think just finding the thing you need to make for yourself.
Hmm. Wonderful. And I want to ask you about your latest song. It's called Dopamine. Tell
Yeah.
me about its idea and what kind of message you like to speak about, And I
Yeah.
want to know if you have, did you shoot it or not yet as a music video?
I have not shot it. If you have ideas, I haven't shot it yet as a
Okay.
music video. Although I've been exploring this really fun. I've been in a few music videos for other people years ago, and to be completely honest, it's always been like a very painful teeth pulling experience to me, just like very like not fun. And so I've recently started experimenting with making music videos that are all one shot that I make myself, and see how far I can push that and have them be interesting and fun. And there's something kind of fun about allowing imperfection in it that I like within my artist project and within kind of the messaging I'm trying to send. So
Mhm.
not to tangent, but if you have ideas, I've been thinking about what would be really entertaining for that. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear
When
more.
you say dopamine, lot of ideas can.
Yeah. No, and I'm so glad that as soon as someone asks about videos or visuals, I'm instantly complimented and happy because that's when I know a song is starting to lock for me when I'm
Yes.
writing it, is when I start having visuals of what are the characters doing and
Yeah.
what's the narrative there for
I,
sure.
I want to tell you that speaking to you right now, you look different in video camera than your still photos on the website or your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean,
And you remind me a lot of Shania Twain, by the way.
oh, thank you. Might be I have a little, and women we're such like amazing transformative creatures.
Mhm.
We have so many different things to play with and really having like music and fashion and I mean there's even incredible, not to like go into the neuroscience category, but there's just incredible research that's been verified over and over again that even where we are in our cycle completely
Yes.
changes our facial shape, the softness, the symmetry, um the eye shape, all of these things change depending on where we are within our cycle. So it's really an incredible thing if you start paying attention to it. But
Mm.
I'll take that as a compliment. Hopefully I look good in
It is a
both.
yes, it is a compliment. But I want to ask you, tell me about what you think your relationship with technology, because you have another song called "The Ring Is Gone" and "Dopamine," and
Yeah.
tell me about yourself as a woman, as an artist, and your relationship with technology and social media. How can you describe it?
I I have such an unbelievable love-hate relationship, with technology. My entire musical career and growth up to this point is entirely impossible without being alive at this particular moment in time, because when I started writing, I don't play any instruments. I would go on BeatStars or YouTube, and I would find a beat or an instrumental track to write over, and that is now I create all the music from the ground up with a producer. We build out all the music, so I don't use those platforms anymore, not that there's anything wrong with them, but for years, that's how I learned to write. So, if it weren't for being alive in this period of time, I would not be in making any music whatsoever. I have massive respect and technology, what we're able to do with vocals, and I don't just mean like perfect. I'm not interested in perfecting vocals, but creating so much mood and energy and drama there. I love synths. I love taking a vocal and making it sound almost completely instrumental. So I love technology. It's an amazing aspect of the creative process.
Yes,
I find social media for almost every artist I talk to be entirely a draining waste of time, but an entirely necessary one. And then once people start making it, there's a big shift that starts to happen. And I think what it is it's once you start making enough content for social media, you stop caring so much about it. And then you actually start finding what it is you want to share, what you want to grow. It's kind of like the music concept I talked about earlier, where when you're creating the music you need for yourself, it resonates. And I think that if you can kind of think about social media as a creative process where maybe you're like kind of I don't know, burying a little like a little piece of information that someday if you were in a rut you'd want to go back and listen to, like something like that, that I think that it becomes a lot more rewarding.
mhm,
So yeah, it's definitely a love hate relationship. I find, back to the dopamine song, the fact that we are all so addicted to our phones and tapped out of reality and have like such a struggle to put them down in a way to be like
yeah,
incredibly sad. Like sad, and something I'm completely guilty of as well. I wish I was one of those people that could get the flip phone and just convert my life into being entirely present, or going 90s as they call it. But it seems like an impossibility because it's so immersed into our life and connecting and to the music industry, especially. But yeah, it's hard. I wonder. I had a friend that brought up the other day. I wonder if we're going to look back in a decade or two at our relationships with our phones now, the way people did at cigarettes, where it's just like people are just smoking all the time, and now people are like, oh, it's a little bit, it seems unnecessary, and I wonder if we'll end up in that space depending on how things shift.
yes. Until now, I see a lot of people crossing the street looking to their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I only right now like to use the phone in writing a nice message, like something important for me or the people who will receive it. Not only to be next to my phone all the time.
Yeah. I wish I was like that. I think that, I definitely have ADHD, and there is something to be said about, like, that personality type, like, we're like the rats
Yes,
we're looking for the dopamine, like, we want it to, like,
of course.
normalize our internal state. So for me, it's so hard. I have to be so rigid because I'm the kind of person that would just doom scroll, like, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And I never walk away from it feeling fantastic. I'm never like, wow, that was so satisfying. I'm so glad I used an hour of my life doing that compared to creating or resting or these other things. But it
Sure.
also is such an amazing opportunity to connect. There are people I've been able to connect with and build relationships with and write with that it would have been completely impossible without social media. Like even now, when I sometimes I'll post like a part, I'm very like process forward. Um,
Yes.
and so I'll post a lot of videos about just like making the song or like trying to find the song. And sometimes it's really fun where there's someone I've connected with before that I'd really like to co-write with. And they're really busy or they're not really sure. And then I'll post something in my process. And then that same day they'll be like, let's definitely write together because something I've like created is resonating with them. And so it's great for that. But yeah, the song Dopamine it's really I think at the heart of the music I really like to make, and it's not done intentionally necessarily, but it's something that keeps manifesting um is to take a subject that's kind of a bummer, like just kind of an unpleasant or challenging or dark subject matter and just make it kind of ridiculous and fun and glamorous. And
Yes.
there's something about that that I think cuts through quite a bit more than something that is, I don't know, condescending or preachy. I don't know what the right word would be, but I think coming from a place of something like humor adjacent. Um, and if you get to the bridge in that song Dopamine, it literally sounds like someone's having an orgasm, like it's ridiculous. And that's
Yes.
kind of like how obsessive and ridiculous we are about our devices. It's we treat them
Yes.
like a lover or a child or someone that we just absolutely can't live without that we're thinking about all the time. And I think that
Yes.
that's a lot more fun of a song than like I can't stop looking at my phone. Like no one wants like that's not a fun song to listen to, but I think creating something a little bit more absurd, the messaging
Yes.
ends up hopefully hitting too. Um, yeah.
Yes. Because you told me you're a photographer. You did photography.
Mhm.
Are some of the photos on your website or Instagram you took it yourself?
You know, what's really interesting is the ones that are currently on my website, no. But I've been doing a lot of really interesting when I was younger, when I first got my camera, it's a lot like songwriting, where when I first, started shooting, I didn't have any models to shoot, so I did a lot of self-timer,
Yes.
self-portraits,
Mhm.
ton in my teenage and even a little in my early 20s, but, I've started doing that again recently, and some of the art that's coming out for this EP and for the album this summer are self-portraits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I felt because some of the photos you are a little bit for like a long shot, not a
yeah,
close up, not a medium shot. So I thought maybe you took it your own.
yeah,
And I have an idea for the
I'd
music
love to hear
video
it.
because you have a lot of cameras behind you.
I do.
I used to have a Kodak when I was young.
That's cool.
I don't know if you have seen a classic film called Peeping Tom.
I haven't.
You should look for it because it's one of the early films in British cinema about voyeurism. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and he was a photographer as well. I will not say more, but you need to watch it,
I'll
you
watch
know,
it.
because it is about the relationship between a man and his camera and his obsession,
Mhm.
you know. It's not like the normal obsession. And I think it inspired a lot of filmmakers later on, like Brian De Palma and like David Cronenberg. Brian De Palma on the psychological side, and David Cronenberg about the relationship between a machine, an instrument, and human being. Okay,
I love
so between like addiction and cameras, and you can have like an uh, outfit or accessories similar like a cat. I
Yeah.
will leave you with the puzzle.
That sounds amazing. I'll absolutely check that out. That sounds incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you use the word voyeur because
Yes.
that is, if I was going to use a few adjectives to describe the aesthetic of the EP and the album, it's very much that. It's
Sure.
like what's
Yes.
happening in all these transitional states, you know, when
Mhm.
someone's not doesn't know they're being seen. And that's always been my, you know, my favorite way to shoot, even others. So
Yes.
yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah,
People
yeah, check it out. Yes, I want to know, beside the album, do you have any projects, plans, live performance in the next period?
Yeah. Well, what's coming up? I have a release. The first release of the EP is coming out on the 15th. That's next Friday. It's called Rich
Hmm.
Kids. It's
Yes,
it's going to be fun. It's about a girl that gets swept up in an affluent lifestyle and kind of what the price she has to pay to be part of that is, like what the price of entry is. So it's comes off as a summer, like a summer house pop, but it's a lot darker if you listen in, especially on the lyrics for the bridge. And then once that's out, then on the 29th, I have the full summer EP is coming out. It's kind of a dark pop summer album. I'm struggling to think of an exact comparison for like a summer island dark tropopop, but I describe it
yeah,
as Lana Del Rey with an edible on like a boat in St. Bart's. Just like kind of dark and uncomfortable, but
sure.
definitely a little unnerving, but good. And then on the 26th of June, the first song for the artist project releases, which is
Yes,
full album Row.
this is great.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of an album, I mean the music, the lyrics, the artwork, and everything related to your creativity. I think it should have like under a theme some connected themes, and so people listening to it can you know, be embodied in the message you're trying to send. You know, as well as the music videos as well. I like very much when the music videos are connected to the theme of the album, you know, either the artwork or the music and the lyrics, you know, so it can showcase what you're trying to implement in your own work.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that's actually been a really fun creative challenge is how to blend these different worlds, but it's a character that's walking, you know, a character can walk from room to room, you know, but how to keep that, you could call it brand consistency, but how to let the characters stay believable while they're moving through different experiences and moods and worlds. And it's been like a really fun process to do that. And I think the visuals have actually really helped cement that for me, what I'm trying to build. So yeah, I appreciate you noticing that. That's cool.
Very good. I wish you all the best in your upcoming releases,
Thank you.
Senora Kiki. And I hope when you have a new release, you can come back and we can talk about it next
I'd
time
love
as
to
well.
do that. That sounds great.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. I wish you all the best. I look forward for the next songs and the album and everything. And yes, I wish you really all the best on your work and all your creativity.
Oh, thank you so much.
Uh, Enjoy the today, the morning and the afternoon, and I look forward to welcome you again. Okay,
You too. Take care.
bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao.